What the hell was that? Just 1 sec here. Weird noise here. What are you doing? What the heck is going on? You know? You crazy little monster. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? You silly little monster. Where did you even come from? Holy shit. Hello, everyone. So, just as I turned on the live stream, I heard this ungodly noise outside. Turns out it was Domino, who had decided to climb like halfway up the side of the house. And then she like landed on this metal. We have these metal bars that you know, they stop people from breaking in through the windows or something like that. And she had landed there and she was like hanging there, right? So I decided to come and rescue her. She's never done that before. I don't know what the heck, like what got into her. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I imagine most of, don't know if there's anyone. Well, there is a few people watching. Oops. Okay. So sorry for the chaotic start, but it wouldn't be the RPG Pundit if it wasn't a chaotic start. I mean, I don't think we ever do things the right way here. So it was like I literally just turned on the thing, and so I heard this clanging noise outside. And I was like, "What the hell is that?" I knew it was my, you know, from just outside my house. So
never a dull show.
Was trying to bust the bars or something. Yeah, crazy. Anyways, all's fine now. So as usual, this is the RPG Pundit Encounter. For those of you early birds who have just gotten here already, those of you who've been here before already know this, that we usually try to give about 10 minutes or so for people to come on in. And then we will actually start. So for the moment, get comfortable. You can feel free to ask, put stuff, conversation stuff in the chat. I'm going to have a little bit of coffee here. And anyway, it's good to see you all here. And today, of course, my guest is going to be Chris Miller of Mad Scribe magazine. I will make a comment that Mad Scribe, of course, is the publisher of several of my books, including Sword and Caravan and Baptism of Fire. So keep that in mind. But this isn't going to be, the intention isn't going to be for this to be some kind of an infomercial or something like that. We're going to talk about a variety of subjects. And Dark Winter posted Domino ? I don't know, Dark Winter, I don't know if you don't know who Domino is. That's my cat. It's my newest cat. It's the current cat. The one that is a vicious huntress, and she keeps getting herself into a lot of trouble nowadays. She's old enough now, like she's an adolescent cat. She goes out now. She's got a little microchip implant thing, and she's got all her shots and everything. But she used to only stay in this, like I live on the inside of a block, right? And so there's like a courtyard there. And she used to stay in the courtyard. But in the last few days, she's been going out onto the actual street. And I keep trying to kind of condition her not to, but it's pretty tricky. She has no fear of anything, and she's she's an acrobat, a daredevil, and she's a vicious wrestler.
Well, you know what you gotta do, Pundit. Get a GoPro and put on your cat now, and just post videos of it running around and getting into shenanigans. You know,
for sure. Okay. Hang on here. Just noticing something that I'm not seeing the comments on.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't know that I would be able to see them anyway.
So what is going on here? Okay, show comments on stage. No, looks like that doesn't do anything. It says YouTube doesn't support comments on private videos. Yeah, but this isn't a private video. This is a public video. Geez, I don't want to mess around with things. Anyways, I've got another thing open here. I've just got a YouTube tab open, so I'm looking at the comments from there. But that is a little bit annoying that I can't do it all from StreamYard this time, and I'm not sure why. It's very weird. All right, so we are waiting just for enough people to come in to be watching. I hope this video is public. I mean, I've set it to public. if nobody shows up, I guess that would explain it. You know,
you got me because I'm even more of a Luddite than you are when it comes to videos. I don't I don't have my own channel or anything, so I'm not savvy with this kind of stuff.
Does anybody out there in the chat know how to like change this setting where it's saying like so StreamYard is saying YouTube doesn't support comments on private videos. Create a public or unlisted stream to show comments from the readers. So like, what did I do wrong? How is it that it's not a public stream? If anyone knows what I need to do to be able to see your comments, please say so in the comments, which I cannot see, but we'll give it a try. I don't see anything here. All right, well, we've got Crap Phone says cat strength 18, bend iron bars on a 1 through 5. Yeah, she didn't so much bend them as she climbed up on them, I think. Busy Badger says it's the scribe. Timothy Shanks says I just saw the notification. Yeah, the problem is I can't even use them. Like I can't even connect them for super chat now. If I or not super chat, for highlighting rather. Again, so if any of you guys know how StreamYard works and can get me and to make it show the comments on the stage.
Yeah, it's interesting.
To get them to show the comments, right? There's no comments coming out.
Right. There's a comment button on my side. When I click it, it won't let me comment either. It says it's a private video, so I don't know.
Why the hell is it saying it's a private video? What do I have to do to change that?
But there are you've got another window open so you can see other people commenting. Is that correct?
I can see it, but it means I have to flip back and forth, right? And
well,
I can't. What I won't be able to do is show on the actual YouTube screen is show
right.
people.
Well, what I'm saying though is that proves that it's not private, because if it was private,
no, obviously obviously there are people there, yeah. So it's very weird. I'm not sure what it is that they've done. Crap Phone says if they improve YouTube anymore, it'll become completely worthless. I guess so, but anyways, I think the problem isn't with YouTube in this case. I think it's with StreamYard, that for some reason it's identifying my video as private when it is actually public. So I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know if there's if somebody can tell me how to fix this, I would be very, very grateful, because I have no idea how it works. We've got 11 people watching now. We're going to start in just a few minutes, I suppose. However crippled I might be by the fact that I can't do it all on StreamYard. Again,
I mean, we're only a couple of minutes in. If you have to shut it down and redo it.
Well, the problem there is I made links to this particular live stream that I've put all over social media. So anyone trying to join now is gonna, unless they're just seeing it on YouTube randomly, anyone else is going to be clicking on those, and I don't want them to miss out, right? So I always try to. The only times I ever do a hard restart is if the video crashes or something, right? Like if there's just no other option. All right. Well, somebody's going to come along who knows something about StreamYard sooner or later, I hope. Now, the rest of you guys, those of you who are here already, did you see this just as a YouTube notification? Is that why you were aware that this video was coming out, or did you see it on my social media? And if so, did you click through that social media to get to to the video. I'm just curious because I want to know whether or not it is actually it's actually working or not. Like whether there is that, why, like I don't understand why StreamYard is claiming that my video is private, right? So this is what I'm trying to figure out. Okay, Gamer Videos 11 says on X. So you saw my post on X that showed the link to the video, and that's what that's what brought you here. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. The important thing is people can click on the link that will show up. It isn't invisible. And I know other people already said that they had seen it from a YouTube notification. So YouTube is doing the notifications, which means that the problem I'm having, which is that I cannot see your comments on the stage of what's called StreamYard, because it's telling me that it's claiming YouTube doesn't support comments on private videos. Create a public or unlisted stream to get comments from your viewers. Like, I don't know where that is. I don't know how to make that happen. Like, where is it saying that the stream is private there on StreamYard and causing it to not be able to see that? This is going to drive me nuts otherwise. Yeah. So if you have a solution, please let me know. This is just general camera, audio, visual effects, recording, hotkeys, layout, guests. Oh no, that's like people who are here. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It just means I'm going to have to keep flipping back and forth, and that I won't be able to put up your comments on the screen. So again, if anyone has a solution to this, please let me know. We're up to 16 people now. So, and it's what, 22:30. We're going to give it a couple of more minutes just in case there's any stragglers. I mean, I know there will be, because at some point there's going to be way more than this number of people here.
Awesome. We have double digits.
But we'll have to be. Well, I usually have double digits, sometimes triple digits here.
Man.
Timothy, you asked, do you normally use StreamYard? And yes, I do. I mean, it's the only thing that is usually so simple that even I can do it. And that's quite the thing. It's quite the accomplishment for StreamYard to have been able to dumb it down so much that 8 times out of 10 the RPG Pundit can do it without a complete screw up.
Is there any chance that it's something on my end? I mean,
I don't think that's possible, because it's obvious.
Yeah, I don't know either. All I did was click your link, of course, to join the stream. I wasn't sure if there'd be any settings or something that, maybe there's something of mine blocking,
Yeah,
I accepted all of the cookies, so that should work.
Yeah, no, I don't. I really doubt that it could possibly have anything to do with you. I can see comments here, size, font, but then it says I can't do it. I can't put the comments. And I do this. What does that do? Sell me StreamYard Advanced. God damn it!
Always an upgrade,
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right.
Well, there's nothing that kills momentum worse than, I guess, just waiting around. We could, comments be damned. We could just go on.
I'm not worried so much about the comments as I am that what I found is if I start right away, because in live streams you've got to give it. This is why Diversity and Dragons, for example, has like a 20-minute goddamn light and sound show before he even begins. I don't know how to make those, so all I do is I start setting up the chat and I talk to the people that came in early as a reward, right? Well, hang on. Somebody sent me something. I typed on Google, StreamYard says my video is private and won't show the live chat. And it came up with multiple fixes for, okay, well, I'll try to do a search for that. Shit. All right, here we go. Fix a private video and missing live chat on StreamYard. Change the destination privacy settings to public on your platform, YouTube. Yeah, it is public. And ensure you're not in incognito private browsing mode. I have no idea what incognito private browsing mode even is. So in YouTube, it says public. Okay, let's take a look there. Yes, it says public. Then then to fix the missing chat, go to your YouTube live dashboard, edit customization, check live replay. Okay. So this is the dashboard. I assume this is the dashboard where it normally sends me the thing, which is currently doing nothing. And then what do I do? Edit, customization. Okay, where is that? I don't see any of those things. I see note, private chat recording, style media assets. No, that's nothing. Comments. No, that isn't helping. It doesn't, whatever it's saying there is not something that I seem to have access to. So it's saying, go to your YouTube live dashboard. I have no idea what that is. I'm assuming that that's meant to be in StreamYard. I don't know. Because we have our comments on the dashboard. So it's live dashboard, edit customization, check live chat replay. Yeah, we have live chat replay. Jesus.
I mean, it could be something as simple as clicking on YouTube, clicking off of the public comments and then clicking back on it again or something.
Yeah, maybe. The problem is, too, I don't want to accidentally kill this chat and then have to start all over again.
Well, if that happens, you don't have to make a new link to restart it, do you?
Yeah, I would have to, because
you would have to. So
it wouldn't be the same as the old link, right? So
I got you.
Trying to avoid that. Ensure you're not in incognito private mode. You can stop. Okay. None of those seem like that's all AI shit, but it's not telling me anything that I. Okay, can't see my comments on my YouTube live replay. That's only if. Okay, no, that's only after the video. Jesus, I cannot find anything that is explaining why this is not choosing to work today. So screw it. I'm just gonna go with it as it is. It's gonna be a crippled sort of video. I'm sorry about this, guys, but it's not you. I need the apology from. It's the people who would normally be posting comments that I would then be highlighting on my screen with the StreamYard. But now I can't do that because they don't appear, right? So.
What is that? That's a comment.
That's just the thing that it's.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just the example, right? That's what I would normally do to get it to for the comments to appear, right? But it's for whatever goddamn reason, they've decided that this isn't going to be the way the thing works. And I don't know if I can even try to reboot. If I try to reopen this page, will that shut down the whole thing, right? I have no idea. Shit. Wow. I hate it when this shit starts to happen and there's no good explanation and no one knows what it is and it's just ridiculous. All right, well, crap phone, we're going to start. I see your question. We're going to, for Mad Scribe, I already had, that was one of the questions I'm going to make. We're going to start on doing that because at this point, there's no point. The problem is I'm looking, I have to, if I leave open the YouTube, the YouTube tab that I have, then I'm going to be hearing back everything I'm saying, right? So I have to have that frozen, which means I can't see myself as I am talking right now if I'm looking at your comments. On the other hand, if I go to where I have the screen where I can see myself, I can't see your comments. This is just unbelievably frustrating. And it's
Are
and
you
the frustrating part is that it's trying the effing Streamlab is trying to claim that I've got an unlisted video when it's very obvious I don't.
Are you using your phone right now to record?
No, this is on Chrome.
Okay, because if you get a separate camera, maybe you could use your phone to look at the comments, but keep the sound off.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea actually. Okay, yeah, you got me there. Good job. I'm gonna do that, and that way I will not have to. Okay, yeah. Okay. That way. Oh, how do I? Just a sec. I'm not. This is not as easy as it looks, anyways, either. But problem is, I want to have it. Okay, I want to have the video on. You got me there. Good job. I'm gonna. But I don't want to have the sound. The hell, is there not a mute button on this? No, it's autoplay. Okay, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, just turn the sound all the way down.
I'm just gonna empty the sound completely, and then I'm gonna try and see now. Is this? I guess this is live. Yeah. All right. Well, that's good enough. It means I'm seeing myself with a delay, but. Yeah, see.
That won't matter too much with the comments, though.
3, 4, 5, 6. How is it having like a 20 fucking second delay? Come on, man. No, because the problem is I look at, like, you know, when I am talking, I look at myself on the camera so I can have a perspective of, you know, how I'm acting, right? And what my physicality looks like, right? Like I'm not an actor or something, but I mean it's disconcerting for me to end up not being able to see myself when I'm talking and I'm on camera. And in fact, there's like a version of me from, I don't know, a minute and a half in the past here. I don't know why it doesn't want to get any further up. Like, this is just nightmarish. God damn it.
Yeah, there's I do that sometimes when I'm on like Double D's stream. You know, I'm in the comments doing that, and then occasionally I'll have to leave the computer, you know, my desktop, and cook dinner or something like that, and I'll keep watching it on TV, and there's always like a 10 or 20 second delay. You know, so that happens with other channels too. I don't even
know where I am there. Like I'm looking back, it's like a fucking half hour behind. So this solves nothing, unfortunately. And I still can't, you know, I can't see the. It's ridiculous. All right. This is just going to drive me insane. I'm sorry. There's nothing else I can do about it. All right. So I'm just going to leave that aside because it's worse than this. It's worse than not being able to see from here. And hang on. I'm going to try to like reload this, see if that does anything. Okay. Come on now. Is that
crossed here?
Hello? No, like, why is it so far fucking behind? It's unbelievable. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I'm having a fucking breakdown here, but there's nothing I hate more than technology that fails to do what it's supposed to do, especially when it's supposed to be the easy one, right? Like, that is the problem. That this is a just useless application of my time if I can't get this right, and if it's not my fault that I can't get it right, it pisses me off, right? If it's the fault of some fucking program that thinks I'm on a private, like I'm just talking to myself alone here or something, you know, and then doesn't want to show the chat because of that. So it's just ridiculous. Okay, let me look back now. I've got to look back and see what other people have posted because I've missed all of it now. I've missed all of the comments. I don't know when we're going to get started yet, but apparently my tantrum still has 16 people watching. So that's
could, you know, listen, if we have to stop and pick this up at say 9 o'clock, that'll give us a good 30-something minutes to work on this.
That'll mean we're going to lose half to 2/3 of the viewers because the viewers were told 8 o'clock, right? And that's just not worth it.
We can then I can go straight on to X and Facebook and everything else and tell everybody it's going to be a little bit later or something like that.
Yeah, but I would still have to like. It's
I know it would require a
I don't
new
know.
link.
For other people, it might be different. For me, it takes at least a half hour for me to get the goddamn YouTube live stream set up, right? Because I have no idea what I'm doing, right? And so I have to be very meticulous, not to commit a mistake. I have to fill in all the blanks. Like if you look at the section on the video where it says like 17 watching now, blah blah blah, and if you click more there, look at the size of the links alone that are there, right? And then besides that, I have to put in all of the associated keywords. I have to check all of this stuff because probably if it isn't just that StreamYard is a bitch, then the other reason this happened is that I missed at clicking some little tiny fucking box in the YouTube formula that I have to do to make a live stream and for that live stream to be correct, right? So okay, let me if you can bear with me for a second here, Chris. I'm going to look at all the comments to catch up on all these wonderful comments that I have not been able to see because of this goddamn failure of interface. Okay. I know I said I think I answered up to there. And then Timothy did his attempt to be helpful in saying StreamYard says my videos probably won't show. Oh, I'm sorry, Timothy, but I did the same thing. I found non-solutions there. So if you found something that might be a solution, please tell me because I did not. So just telling me you did the search doesn't particularly help at this point. Flint Fireford says in YouTube Studio, you can check your content, change for private to public. I checked the content. It is public. This video is public. It has been public, since I guess earlier today, right? Like it's. So it does not appear to me because it says public. It's like where in the channel content area, the thing is listed as public. So it does not appear to me to be an error of related to YouTube, but rather to StreamYard. And I think it's StreamYard trying to get more money off me because when I click the little box in StreamYard saying YouTube doesn't support comments on private, and then it says show comments on stage, which is not turned on. The second I try to turn it on, it will end up calling for me to pay them $44 or something. Yeah. So let's see. Unfortunately, Google instructions are usually 5 years out of date. Yeah, I've been aware of those. Or sometimes like they tell you to press buttons that don't exist. Flint Firework says, for the love of God, Pundit, just do the interview. No one cares if you post content. Well, I care because part of any of these live streams has two factors. One, it has me and the special guest. The other one is me interacting with my audience, with the fans that come to watch me, to come to watch the guest. And for them to feel like they're getting an interaction on top of which, I would love it. For some reason, I never get as many super chats as Diversity and Dragons does. Maybe I should do what he does and only ever read comments that come in the form of a super chat. But again, if that happened today, how would I fucking know, right? I wouldn't be able to find it and I wouldn't be able to put it up. So it's really driving me nuts. All right. Crap Phone says, nobody told Pundit about the 1 pixel size checkbox called check this if you want your stream to work as expected. Yeah,
exactly.
That is one of the things that is probably going on here. Yeah, because for some reason they just want to make it more difficult. And I fucking hate that. Right? Like this is always about computer nerds who think they're doing something and that it's straightforward in their autistic little minds, right? But that for a normal human being, a person who is not a computer programmer or some shit like that, they don't, it's going to be incomprehensible to them. And then they have the gall to say that, oh no, it's really easy, to say that to your face, and then to act as though a person with multiple graduate degrees is stupid for not getting it, and that's just so annoying. All right, so let's get started. I'm just going to go for it. I thank you everyone who's already been here. who's just arrived. If you haven't arrived, this is the RPG. If you have just arrived, rather, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss at Internet Shitlords, and this is the RPG Pundit encounter. My current encounter at this moment is with StreamYard, which isn't letting me see the comments in the StreamYard studio. But the encounter we were now going to be moving into is with Chris Miller of Mad Scribe magazine.
Welcome to the StreamYard tutorial.
See, like I have to flip back, and then I don't see you talking, right? Like this is just going to drive me absolutely insane. I don't know how to fix it because like your idea was a good idea of like trying to look at it in the YouTube app. But the YouTube app is always behind. There's no way I can get it in real time, right? So then
it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be, I didn't know it was going to be that far off, but I mean, I've done that before and it's always been a good 10 or 20 seconds. With the written comments, maybe that's not too important as long as you're not trying to watch yourself on the phone.
But I do watch myself on the StreamYard, right? Because I want to see how I am projecting myself, and this is it doesn't work this way, right? Because any time I'm doing this, I can't see the comments, so I can't react in real time.
You just have to check them periodically.
Yeah, I guess that'll be the only option. So, guys, we will not be able to put the comments on the video, and. I was saying just before I got into this rant that maybe I should be switching to the Diversity and Dragons model because the other day on Wednesday he did a video about the video I made, the scoop that I had, that only I had, that was about how 6th edition is being worked on right now in Wizards of the Coast. See, now I can see myself because I've gone back to the other thing in Wizards of the Coast. And that they are getting Ed Greenwood and Tracy Hickman to assist, right? And Diversity and Dragons did a live stream about it. That's perfectly fine. He cited me. He showed my video. He put the link. He didn't do anything wrong, right? But I noticed that he got an enormous amount on this video that was basically just him commenting on my video. He got a ton of super chats, and I can't understand what the difference would be, except that Diversity and Dragons very clearly will only, once in a while, if it's like maybe if I'm saying something, he'll say, "Oh yeah, Pundit, look at this. This is what Pundit said," right? He might do that. If it's somebody he really knows well, he might quote that line in the chat. But in every other case, he will only ever read your chat if you do a super chat, right? I didn't want to do that. I still don't want to do that, right? I want to read every comment I find interesting. But I've started to have the impression, because we have a lot of the same audience, and yet the level of engagement in super chats is much lower in mine, that I'm basically screwing myself, that I'm trying to be too much of some kind of a hippie socialist here by saying, "Oh no, I'll let everybody talk, and then and then I will trust in your inherent goodness to send super chats." So I'm not sure, right? But I'm gonna have to think about that. But anyways, right now I probably won't read almost anyone's comments because I can't look at them at the same time as I'm talking. So and I can't put them on the video. So I don't know what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to say screw it. But as a rule, I try to post any comment I find interesting, and I hope that you guys will donate to the Domino Cat Toy Fund in the form of super chats if you like the videos that I do and the work that I do. Okay. So, all right, onwards to our guest. It is Chris Miller, who is the publisher. He's the boss of the publishing company Mad Scribe, and he is somebody who, ironically, the first products that Mad Scribe did were not OSR products, and yet he is now probably known as one of the best indie OSR publishers in the business. Yeah, he's right up there, like with guys that have been doing this a lot longer, like James Raggi and stuff like that.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, And of course, he's particularly well known for publishing me. Right? I will admit I have a certain bias there, but my bias isn't that that I have a material connection with Chris. It's my bias is that the reason he publishes my stuff is because I'm that impressed of how good a publisher he is, right? And that I continue wanting him to publish my stuff, even if I have to put up with the grandfatherly pace of Rob Kuntz's book getting done, because I know that he is one of the best, right? So this is not this isn't some kind of an infomercial or something. This is me as someone who is not an employee of Mad Scribe Press, but rather is I guess you could say like a client or something. I'm one of the authors that he publishes. But it's me expressing an admiration for the good work he does. So as always, we start the interview, which has gotten quite late at this point compared to a regular one, with a question I ask to every person that is on this show. So you have been a publisher for several years now. You've written your own RPGs. You've published my RPGs and maybe some other people's too. And well, you're if not, you're about to if you haven't done that otherwise.
Right.
And you've produced a magazine, like an actual physical magazine in the like dragon-esque style, right? Mad Scribe magazine. And you've been involved in like social media, even though you yourself don't have like a YouTube channel or anything like that, but you've been a frequent guest of other people's YouTube channels, and you've been involved in the kind of OSR culture war and everything else with it. So the first question for you is, who has been good to you and who has been bad to you?
Who has been good and bad? Gosh. Well, I mean, obviously I'd have to say you yourself have been very good to me and very influential. Going back, I started with this whole game design shenanigans like back in really like 2010, and my first book wasn't published though until 2016. So, but even back then, I was kind of following you, online and forums and on YouTube and stuff like that, and I really appreciated your type of content because I was a struggling Democrat at the time, and so it took a couple of years to come to the realization that my whole outlook on life was wrong. But during that time, I was trying to find anybody on YouTube that had a more conservative slant. I had gone through, even though I wasn't famous at the time, I went through my own troubles with being canceled and dogpiled on social media and all that kind of stuff. And it got so bad to where, I got banned from several social media networks and had to change my, name and everything, not legally, but, in the sense of making new accounts and things. And even my design company at the time went through a lot of trouble. I was getting harassed a lot, and people were kind of shadow banning me and not allowing me to go to conventions and not allowing me to sell my products. And so I had to rebrand. But during all that, I found a couple of people online that, I really kind of connected with, and you were one of those people. And I knew early on, I actually never thought I'd be publishing your works. But I was a big fan of yours online, and later on, same thing with Diversity and Dragons. And I'm just, I'm very happy to have met both of you. And, I'm really well acquainted with a lot of the folks, and in particular with the Diversity and Dragons chat, and even Venger. I had a lot of fun meeting and talking with Venger.
Venger is a fun guy.
Yeah. And I got to say, his VentureCon was one of the smallest conventions I've ever been to. It was only like 30 people, I think, the time I went, but it was actually one of the most fun conventions I ever had, an experience to go to. So, we it's good to have that kind of support network, because I got to tell you, I worked, I was Hollywood adjacent for a long time. And, I've done, my wife and I used to run the Rocky Horror Picture Show live cast. We did a stage performance of that like 12 years in a row. And I played a lot of characters during that. And I also worked at the convention circuit as a liaison between the movie stars and like the what they call the Walk of Fame, where they would do their autographs and everything. And so, anywho, that I got kind of shunned and banned from a lot of those spaces, and all those people are very, theater kids in particular are very left wing, and
that's a rule, yeah.
When I when I voted for Trump the first time in 2016, I had like 5,000 followers, drop me like a sack of bricks. And, all my friends, or who I thought were my friends, and even some relatives and that sort of thing. And so it was, it's been nice to, like I said, find a couple of safe spaces for us, online. And, like I said, I get along with you really well. We seem to have a lot of the same political views, and I really like your content. I was a history major myself in college, although I never finished. And so I really appreciate your more historical, angle on your games. And I just couldn't ask for a better partnership in that respect. So,
oh, well, I'm glad to hear it and feel the same way. Now, I notice every time, I mean, and sometimes with people who are quite bold and everything, this first question, which I've asked everybody I've ever interviewed here, they're always quite meticulous about the people who've been good for them, right? And then none of them really want to say, like, I was sincerely hoping that there would be some people who would say, oh yeah, that Bob Smith is a piece of absolute crap, and I hope he, whatever, right? Like something like that. But they're always like, oh, nobody's been that bad with me. Well, maybe some guys, but I don't want to mention them. Who cares, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's water under the bridge, right? I mean, there are some people.
RPGPundit, I don't know the meaning of water under the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody nobody famous that I could mention, really. I mean, there were people that I, personal friends that some of which were in my old gaming group and that sort of thing.
But again, like the bigger industry has, in your perspective,
not really. Yeah, because I haven't. I haven't been lucky enough to reach that level of fame, I think. I mean,
you'd be surprised how little you need to do to reach.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays it's less common, I'll grant you, because a lot of the woke mob have ran away, basically. But
I mean, I think we all kind of know the people on the other side of the fence within the hobby that
this is like the opportunity for, at least I had envisioned it. Maybe it's something that only I would like, but I had envisioned this first question as like most people would probably say, oh yeah, well, I got my buddy, this guy, and Double D, and Avenger, and whatever, and then that they would spend a lot more time elaborately attacking the people that have tried to screw over their lives, right? Because that's what I would do for sure, right? Like if somebody asks me this
but they're just
their live stream, look out.
They're just
okay, I understand. At this point,
they're just nobodies, though. It's like there's a handful of people on the old Rocky Horror Cast who are diehard Antifa members, and I received death threats from them.
Respect.
People like random strangers on Facebook, that I get death threats or really nasty comments and stuff, a couple of times a week at least.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny too, because especially a platform like X or Facebook, something that surely should be against their community standards, just doesn't seem to be offensive to them. So, I had this one guy just send me a tirade, a whole paragraph long, how he, because my company is an LLC, he's looked me up, he knows my address, he's going to come and kill me and my wife and all this kind of stuff.
Sorry, was this a private thing that he sent you?
It's a private. He sent me a private message, and so I took a screenshot of it and reported it to Facebook, and Facebook sent me a message saying it does not violate their community standards.
Were you with a company like that, that if it was exactly the same, but you had been the one writing to him,
right,
they would have banned you.
Well, matter of fact, I've been banned from Facebook for 300 years total. So they banned me for life 3 times, and the stupid stuff is like I posted a picture of Hitler with a child on his lap, and with the caption, "A rare photo of Nancy Pelosi and her father." Now, obviously, it's a joke, right?
Yeah.
They tried to come at me with this zero tolerance policy for
how many pictures of Trump as a giant baby in a diaper or something,
right?
Like that. Did the leftists get to post on there, right?
And it's stuff
like this is like 2017 or something like that, but it brings back the memories. Yeah.
When Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted of his crimes, his alleged crimes, I simply reposted the fact there was a news clipping saying that he won his case, and that was considered hate speech. That was beyond the pale. So they banned me for life for simply reporting what happened. It's stuff like that. I just, but
I think that the thing I would have imagined that if you maybe some people could have taken some offense if you did the old what was it, the meme of Kyle Rittenhouse took 3 shots at a crowd of Antifa and hit two child abusers and a wife beater.
Yeah, no, I might have posted that, but they didn't get that.
Yeah.
Those who know me on Facebook, I don't pull any punches. I post every day as though it may be my last.
See, I am cautious on Facebook because Facebook isn't a place where I do like a lot of social interaction, anyways, right? But so I don't want to, because I know, right? Like even today, even in this modern time, Facebook is going to be more prejudiced against conservatives than against leftists. And so the only thing, because I never talk socially with anyone, there's hardly anyone left alive on Facebook. I think the people that are there are all in their 70s or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just don't realize that the internet's moved on. But there's still the groups and things like that where I do post my social media stuff or my where I let people know about a new book. And so in that, my rule of Facebook is I never do any posting that isn't promotion, basically. That's
ironically,
that's X, right? Because
ironically, that's what I do on X. X is the place where I could post anything I want, but I tend to use that only for business.
So you're like the guy that is like, attracted to danger, right? So you're saying that like X is too tame for you because you know that you're not going to be punished for it, right?
Well, you know what it was? I had an X account back when it was, Twitter.
Yeah.
And Twitter was actually at that time way more prejudice against conservatives than Facebook was, or at least they were neck and neck. So I think it's because I didn't want my business to, to get banned or, I had some Kickstarter stuff going on at the time. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't get, like I said, dogpiled by, mobs or something. So I kind of watched what I was saying on Twitter at the time. And then who knew that there was going to be this complete reversal where, suddenly Facebook becomes, really fascistic. And then you've got, Elon buys Twitter and turns it into X and allows free speech, but I just kind of kept the same business model.
Right.
And the thing is too, I think a lot of the folks that that follow me on Facebook are, old friends or like high school people that I knew, and
Sure.
And we're all Gen X and kind of like-minded, so I can kind of say what I want, and they don't report me,
Yeah.
So, well, for whatever. But going back to your original question, no, I mean, I'm sorry I can't provide you with a list of names of people that I want to curse out or something.
You're
it's
not
just
the only one. Like I said, nobody has ever made full use of that question.
Yeah, it's just it was a large group of kind of nobodies that keyboard warriors and things like that. Okay. And even
let's move on and go on to the next point, which is basically how is it that you decided to start being an RPG publisher?
Well, that's it's an interesting question too. I gotta think back to I was
like, first of all, do you have like a previous experience as a publisher of some kind?
No.
Is that in any way related to? Okay.
I mean, I was working in the medical field. I met my wife and we were engaged, eventually got married, and both of us worked at Emory Hospital. And, I practiced, I was an optician, so I practiced that for about 20 years altogether. But I kind of had like a midlife crisis and decided that I wasn't happy, and I didn't want to do that kind of work. For those people who work or who don't know, the medical field is very shisty, and there's a lot of drama and backstabbing and political kind of stuff that goes on, and it can be very dog eat dog. And I'd hit this point where I capped out on my pay rate, and so I was looking at another 20 or 30 years not making anything more. And at the same time, Obama had just gotten in, and he was making all these changes in the medical field, obviously, that I didn't think were right, even though at the time I voted for him. And, my company was, kind of treating me bad. And I don't know, my wife and I had a discussion, and I said, well, she asked me, well, what would I want to do if I could do anything? And I'd always been, a role player, but I'd never created my own system. And I said, I'd really like to publish my own game,
Uh-huh.
And at the time, I had no idea how difficult that would be. So, kind of naively, I was just like, oh, yeah, I could do that. I played tons of games, why couldn't I make one?
Yeah.
And, it took me something like 5 years to create the rules and hammer it out right and play test it and, promote it and do the Kickstarter. And thank God it was successful. But it wasn't that successful. I didn't make a ton of money off of it. I spent like 20 grand.
And this was Angkor, right?
Yes. And Angkor, Kingdom of the Gods. And I had spent like $20,000 producing this book. And the Kickstarter was successful, but I only made like $6,500 on the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And then later through sales on drive-through, they kind of trickled in, and over the couple of years, I made the 20,000 back, but I haven't made enough to make it really worth having done. So that was my heartbreaker,
Yeah.
And
everybody has those.
yeah, and it was, anybody who's got that book, it's really thick. It's like 400 pages.
But there was one important thing that book certainly did in my case, was that because you sent me a review copy, I did the review. And
that's right.
I was very impressed by your skills at layout, at illustration, and all of that, right?
So, well, and I was completely self-taught, by the way, too. What happened was I found out, kind of the hard way how publishing works in the modern age, right? And I had kind of an old school idea of, well, I'll type out this manuscript, and send it into some company, and they'll publish it for me or whatever. But I started shopping it around, and that was looking like it was going to be way more expensive than I thought. And typically with those kind of companies, yes, if they agree to publish it for you, the author only gets like 1 to 3% of a royalty on the back end. And I said, well, no, I want to keep most of the money. So drive-through was kind of a godsend at the time, because I found out you could do print on demand.
Yeah.
And that seemed the way to go.
Everything, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it really did.
I've written, academic type books with traditional publishers, and the money that you earned from it, like for them, like a royalty of half a percent sometimes, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, typically it was 1 to 3%, but I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, to be honest, I think sometimes now
I don't even blame them.
I'm spoiled.
Use in traditional publishing, right? But
I'm spoiled with I'm spoiled with the 30% that I make off a drive-through. But when you go through something like that, you want to keep control of your product, and I didn't want some company getting most of the money and then owning the rights to my game or something. And so I went with drive-through after that. But
yeah, well, it works. We've got a super chat here. Hang on one second, from Flint Fireforge, $1.99 for your StreamYard trauma and cat toys. Thank you very much, Flint Fireforge. The super chats go directly to the fund of keeping my sometimes psycho cat from the
keep her out of trouble.
Yeah, keeping her out of trouble, exactly.
So I knew that I needed a program like Adobe InDesign or something like that.
Yeah.
And Adobe InDesign at the time was $6,000.
Did you have any idea how to use it when you?
No. I had no idea.
Were you entirely self-taught?
Yes, I had never taken. I took
a class. You didn't do anything.
No, okay. I took data processing in high school in like 1990 or something. But
that's real useful now.
So
you know what? I also in university, the only thing I ever took, apart from like learning how to type, right? The only thing I ever took to do with computers was in when I was just starting my grad studies. There was a course that I decided to take as like an optional course, right? Because I thought it would be like just easy credit, right? And it was about how to do historical, it was from the history department of the U of A, how to do historical research using the internet. And that turned out to be of all the classes I ever took in all my entire academic career of university, the one that I thought was going to be completely pointless, and it turned out to be like the most important one I ever did, right? Because it taught me how to search on a search engine the right way, right? And how to be able to differentiate between, like what the different sources are on the context of the internet, and so like I learned how to make really precise and accurate Google searches and things like that. I don't think Google was even there yet, but to do it with whatever was there before that.
No,
that made my
that
career, right? Because everything else I've done since then has used it, But
I used to when I was in college, I was a library aide. That was my job. So I knew all about the card catalog and the Rolodex and all that.
But libraries is something that's changed so completely since the advent of the internet, right? Like,
we had like 2 computers in the library. So
I had a friend who came to visit Uruguay, and who's a librarian, and there's this beautiful library building. It was built like in the 1800s, and it's just unbelievable. Like it's got that continental Victorian style, and it's really impressive. And the thing is, though, it's like it hasn't really been updated since forever, right? Like, so it's so everything inside it still has like these the little card system and everything. It's not computerized, right?
That's nice.
And she went in there and she couldn't believe it, right? Like, she saw it was like as if she had gone back into the olden days or something like that.
The college that I went to is very brutalist architectural style. It's actually the building they use in the Marvel films for the Avengers headquarters.
Really?
That's a school that I went to. Clayton State College, for anyone who's aware. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So well, at the time,
Training.
I knew that I needed Adobe InDesign to do the book, but it cost $6,000 if I wanted to purchase it, right? And the only other way you could do it is if you were a student taking graphic design. You could pay a monthly fee, $15 or something like that a month, to get access to a limited version of it. Yeah. So what I did is I had a friend of mine who was in college go ahead and buy the monthly subscription, and then I would go over to their house. I'd commute over every couple of days and just take everything that I typed and retype it into their computer and work off it there.
Serious dedication there.
Yeah. So it took forever. It was such a slog to get that game together. But I'm glad you liked it. I actually look at it now, and being the first thing I ever did, I'm like, oh my God, it's so amateurish.
It is in comparison. I mean, every book that you've put out with me has been better than the previous one, right?
Well, thanks.
Of course, the degree of that is now slowing down because you're becoming more and more pro at it, right? So you're already
it's I've become quite adept at it now. I mean, at least it does. I have fewer questions, and there's fewer times that I need to go, because occasionally I have to go on YouTube and look at a tutorial or something, but I kind of have a style, I think, now too, especially with the magazine. It was very touch and go, because I did initially, I tried to hire someone else to help produce the magazine, but that, he did a great job too. But the problem is I'm paying him, $400 to do the layout and design of the magazine. And it's a quarterly magazine with less than like 1,000 people that read it, So it's not worth paying somebody that much money. So I ended up, doing all of that myself too. And magazine layouts are a little different, obviously, right? Than say one of the books I've done for you. So
well,
I've had to
leave Mad Scribe magazine for a little later, but I guess since you brought it up,
mm-hmm.
we can jump into this. I have to admit that when you told me that you were going to do like a magazine in the style of Dragon, that would be a print magazine, right?
Yeah, because I told you before.
It seemed totally crazy to me, right? I was like, oh yeah, he's going to do this for 1 or 2 issues, and then it's going to die, right? There's no way, right? But you seem to have pulled it off. You were able to like recruit people to do articles and stuff that were.
Yeah. Well, I think the trick is too,
the right people,
like I don't care if it makes money. So,
Yeah.
you know, if I were in this for the money, I probably would have stopped doing the magazine after a few issues, you know, because it hasn't been profitable.
Is it like?
But it's been fun.
Is it not profitable, or is it like you end up having a loss from it?
I don't think it's a loss because I do all the work myself. I mean, I guess I could say,
yeah, you're not
yes,
making a lot of money from it, but it's not like it's at
right.
this point costing you stuff because you're.
It's costing me time and some money. I mean, I do. There are some people that
everybody's got to do their labors of love. You know, I've written a few RPG products that I'm pretty sure are not going to sell well, and sometimes they do by surprise, but
yeah,
you know, a lot of times they don't. I do it because I really want to have that book to exist. You know,
like early on with the first couple of issues, you know, I paid somebody to do the design and layout and everything. I also paid for a lot more artwork, and I paid people to write articles because I needed the content. And you know, those first few issues, which I don't think are my best actually, you know, cost way more than they were worth, right?
Yeah.
But now, like the last one I put out, I've got tons of people coming to me wanting to put their stuff in the magazine.
That's great. Yeah.
And I'm actually having, in some cases, you know, too many submissions, and I'll have to say, well, I can't put you in this one. I'll have to wait until summer or fall or something like that. And so, you know, it's gotten. I think that's the good. You know, the one good thing is that I'm publishing the magazine by myself, but I'm not doing all the content by myself.
No.
And so it's a lot easier when I get submissions, and I can then just kind of cut and paste that in there. I do have to keep on people to make sure that they, you know, meet the deadlines and that the content is good, you know, because
I mean, that's a good place.
Not everything I get is great, you know, but I usually give people notes and instead of outright rejections or something, I'll be like, well, I'd really like if it had this tone, or if you could change, you know, expand on this a little bit, talk some more about that, you know, fill this, you know, I get a lot of folks that send me 1 or 2 pages worth of something. Yeah. And I'm like, well, an article really needs to be, you know, 4 pages if you can do that.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the hardest thing has actually been
the magazine ideally would have certain people that are kind of well known in the hobby, right? Doing 1 or 2 of the articles or whatever else you put in.
But I'm also open to newcomers, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And then being a place where if somebody is a relative newcomer in the OSR or in RPGs in general or whatever, it's a place where they can get exposure to, you know. Yeah. We'll see what they're
I'll
about.
approach people all the time that if I have somebody that I watch on YouTube and I find them really interesting and I think that they could provide some good content, I'll ask them, you know, to do that. You know, so I've been lucky in that I've had some really good content come from, you know, well-known people. And then another thing I have with the magazine are the interviews, you know, so I've been, cross my fingers here again, I've been very lucky so far to get some nice interviewees. And the newest one that I have here, show that without the ring light in the way.
That one out already? Is it already available?
This one has been available for about a month. It's the 13th issue, and it's got an article in there from Ed Greenwood and very nice cosplay images.
You could ask him about the 5e scoop or 6e scoop I put out.
And I guess going as far as cosplay stuff is concerned too, I wanted I was in the middle of a thought with that. That's actually the hardest thing to come up with is the first couple of issues. I wanted to have kind of a pinup section, you know, with like sexy cosplayers or something in there. And it worked, and I had a lot of good comments about that. But then I was like, well, God, now I got to come up with like a professional, good-looking cosplayer every single issue. And it's been kind of tricky because there's plenty of people out there, but trying to get in touch with them on social media can be very touch and go, you know, because the women in particular, because I've had some,
they don't know you,
yeah, I've had some men in the magazine before too. They don't have to be women. There's some very good cosplayers out there who are men, but the women in particular, I think, I mean, for good reason, are often, you know, kind of hesitant to, you know, read everything. You know, if I send them a DM, is that, you know, it's like, hey, I want you to be in this magazine. I mean, there's probably, how many of those do they get, you know, and probably think I'm some creep. So a lot of times I don't get immediate responses, and I have to keep kind of trying to approach them from different social media platforms, or join the Patreon and pay $5 so I can talk to them
or something. Yeah.
You know, but right now I've got, I think, enough cosplay material for the whole year, maybe up to October. So we're looking good on that.
Excellent.
But the magazine's just been a load of fun. I don't care. Like I said, I don't care if it's making money. It's something I always wanted to do. And, you know, it's just for purely nostalgia reasons. I really liked Heavy Metal Magazine and White Dwarf and stuff like, you know, Dragon and Dungeon. I used to read those all the time when I was a kid, and you know, they don't really exist anymore. Yes, technically White Dwarf is still out there, but all they do now is advertise.
I remember like the early White Dwarf magazine was very different.
Yeah, that's what I liked early White Dwarf, when they actually talked about other game systems and they had interesting articles. And
same thing with Dragon Magazine. You know, the early
kit bashing
were way better than the later ones. You know.
Yeah. Well, see, now they don't want you to kit bash because they want you to buy, you know, their product.
Games Workshop has been very, very successful at turning into a, you know, churning factory of making profit. You know, like
White Dwarf now is just
their soul entirely. You know,
it's just a large catalog for Warhammer 40K. So,
exactly.
You know, and Dragon and Dungeon and you know, there have been so many others that don't exist anymore. And then I think it's ironic that 2 years after I started Mad Scribe magazine, Heavy Metal announces they're going to come out with, you know, they're going to start publishing again or whatever.
Great.
But now I think they have done that, but I'm not sure if it's entirely digital or if it's also in print. But I did catch a couple of their posts on X and Facebook, and from what I gather, at least in the early days when they were talking about this renewal of the magazine, it sounded like it was going to be kind of woke, because they were talking about, it's for the new audience, you know, the new modern audience, and we're not going to objectify women and this and that and the other. And I was like, you know,
I mean, like if heavy metal isn't objectifying women, then what the hell is the point? You know, like,
exactly. You know, and I like to be very tongue in cheek and kind of do some nods to you know, older, like I had one cover for Mad Scribe. You know, I've got a female like Valkyrie with a laser gun riding a pterodactyl. I mean, you know, but I got to admit, even I chose to keep her mostly covered, because I was, again, at that time, I was still kind of on the fence. I was like, you know, I don't want to get, you know, there's a real chance that, like, Drive-through, for example, could just say, "Oh, we're going to ban your product," and then then I'm kind of up shit creek. So I walked the line.
Yeah, you got to walk the line. Exactly.
It's sad what I've seen happen to like Sylvia and Miguel, with Red Room. They got all their products banned off of not Facebook, Drive-through.
Drive-through, yeah.
And I actually there's several issues where they've written content for the magazine, and I have to kind of keep it on the down low because if Drive-through finds out, then they could pull my magazine, So I actually have several people that are considering writing under like a pen name or something,
not a bad idea,
to keep that from happening.
So what advice would you give to someone who is a prospective self-publisher, someone who wants to become an
Don't do it.
RPG publisher? Is that right? Don't do it.
No, absolutely do it.
I guess one piece of advice would be don't expect to get rich from it, right?
Yeah. But see, not since the 90s has there been a time when there's been such an opportunity to create different kinds of games and magazines and whatever. There was a long time, like in the 70s and 80s, when I think the majority of people just played D&D. And then, as you well know, in the 90s, there was kind of this, I would say, resurgence in gaming in general, but maybe you could say that. But you had people like, Palladium Games and, Cthulhu stuff and, Star Wars and Star Trek. And there were people playing any number of games. I mean,
every one of those names you mentioned, though, were actually started in the 80s, right?
That's true too. But
whereas in some ways there was a bigger boom in the 80s. Like in the 90s, actually, what ended up happening is that
I just think a lot more people started playing them then.
But some of the gaming companies started to go from like an amateurish sort of thing, where like if you look at the early Palladium books, or you look at the early D&D books, right? Like they were all like with staples and stuff like that. And then they started becoming more and more professional. And the 90s is kind of when like the RPG industry became a thing, right? With White Wolf and with like a lot of these other companies.
There were just a lot of other options. And then, and look, it may be my own microcosm, because obviously my whole outlook on gaming is kind of limited to the game store that I went to and my group of friends and that sort of thing. But I know that after the 90s and then in the early 2000s, all those other companies kind of went away and D&D was king again. And, even though I didn't like 4th edition all that much. I didn't like 5th edition. I didn't like the 5.5. So I've kind of
nobody liked 5.5.
Yeah, my group continued playing essentially 3.5 all the way up into the mid 2000s. And now, tell you the truth, I wasn't that big of a fan of 3 or 3.5 either. I really like 1st and 2nd edition, but you play with other people, and that's what they want. But I think we're kind of in a similar time now as we were in the 90s, where it's kind of the Wild West again, and you've got.
It's more the Wild West because.
You really got.
Getting at is that when you had the RPG industry, these were companies you had to invest a lot of money, you had to invest a lot of risk, and
look at me. Anybody can become a game designer, right?
That's the thing, is that now you have, thanks to advances in technology, literally anybody could choose to become an RPG publisher, right?
Right.
And now it's weird. Like what I do now is weird because I'm not a publisher. I just write and then I let other people publish. And partly that's because I've got a lot of name recognition, but because if I didn't have that name recognition, I'd have to do my own publishing, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of inverted, right? Because it used to be that being a big deal in the RPG industry meant that you were working for some company, right? Whether it was FASA or whether it was White Wolf or whether it was TSR or whatever.
Exactly. And I would have, to tell you the truth,
gamers even, you know,
I would have been more than happy to have worked for one of those companies in that regard. And, you know, but, and actually I was a play tester for White Wolf because they're located here in Atlanta. So I knew all the White Wolf guys. I was good friends with Ian Lemke and some different people who, you know, I play tested Vampire the Masquerade and Changeling and all that stuff. We used to LARP together. We'd hang out on the weekends. It was all good fun. Like I said, until this one Democrat voted for the wrong guy, and I immediately got ostracized by that group and was told I'm not allowed to play their games anymore. You know, or be a part of their groups, and you know, that's just how it happens. But anyway, yeah, I just think right now it's the perfect time for somebody if they want to create a game. I think it's completely doable. You've got crowdfunding. You can go to Kickstarter. You know, you can try to get it funded that way. If it doesn't, you can still publish it on drive-through anyway. And
that was the other thing, right? Back in the day, you could be a game designer, but you were probably going to be designing for a company, and you would be designing what they told you to design, not what you wanted necessarily to do.
Well, that's true too. Right.
There were tiny presses that did their own thing, but usually those games didn't become very big sellers, right?
Yeah. I mean, and you know, you could absolutely be in a position where you know, you wanted to create something like Baptism of Fire, and the company you work for said, no, that's a stupid idea. We want you to make
really,
you know, this thing about trannies. You know, that's what's in right now. You got to trannies and dragons, you know, or
exactly. And now,
you know,
now
so,
it's open up to everybody, right? It's the liberation that the internet has brought. So what would you say is the most important things that people need to know to make a good RPG book as a publisher?
Oh, wow.
What are the things that people will tend to miss, perhaps?
I mean, despite all your accolades, I still don't consider myself a good game designer, and perhaps that's for the best. But
well, I'm not talking about the writing process. I'm talking about
or a publisher rather. I mean, obviously, people do judge a book by its cover. I do think it may be the most important part of the look of a book, because if they don't like the cover, they're not going to pick it up. They're not going to open it to read it, and so forth.
I'm quite convinced that a lot of the success of Baptism of Fire is in the cover.
Yeah. Yeah. And what a fluke that was.
Yeah, really.
If you recall, you know, we had paid I had paid an artist quite a bit of money to create the cover, and you know, while it was okay, it wasn't. It just didn't.
That cover inspired the.
It didn't pop.
But you decided to go with,
and then, you know, ironically, you know, we decided to go with an AI generated thing, although heavily modified after the fact by myself in Photoshop and that sort of a thing. So,
that really worked.
Yeah, I was really surprised at the reaction, because, you know, at the time I wasn't really on board with the whole idea of using AI art for anything. You know, I had taken a lot of art.
Fire, it came out of necessity, right? Because
it kind of did.
There was a lot of art that you could obtain, and a lot of which was probably free art.
That's a problem too. It's a problem. All of your books, because they're historical, trying to find inexpensive artwork is a bit difficult, because you want to make sure that it's cohesive, and that's the thing. Like you may find quite a few frescoes or paintings or something about the caravans or something in on the Silk Road, but you're not necessarily, they're going to be from different artists, they're going to be from different time periods. If I paid an artist to then say, okay, use this as inspiration and paint me 100 images, I've paid artists before many times, and the prices for a good artist are going to be somewhere in the range of between $100 and say $400 for a full page image like that. And when you've got a book that's got 100 or 200 or 300 images, and sure, they're not all full pages, maybe it's a quarter page, whatever, it can get real expensive real quick.
And that's another thing that's revolutionized.
Yeah, and the thing is with Baptism of Fire in particular, the time period and the location, I just couldn't find.
There's not
quite as much Polish,
as much stuff.
Yeah, like specifically Polish medieval artwork in a particular style, and so I did find a lot, and to our credit, I mean, all of those books are about 50-50 AI art versus real stuff that we were able to get royalty free or whatever, public domain. But in some cases you can't even tell. I mean, I find it hard sometimes to look through that, and even I don't remember which ones I created versus real paintings. So that's interesting, and it's only getting better. I've noticed in the last year, we're now like Midjourney's up to 7.1 or something. As far as I think the version we used for Baptism of Fire was like 4, version 4 or something like that. So
it keeps improving.
Yeah. You no longer get the spaghetti fingers and all that kind of mess.
Yeah.
But I mean, so anyway, I don't want to dwell on that, but it was just going into that, I did not intend to use AI art, certainly for the cover, but we had such a good reaction to the cover when we kind of shopped it around to folks, and so anyway, I do think, regardless of what you do, the cover is one of the most important things.
Yeah, I'd agree.
The thing too with whether you're editing somebody else's work or you're trying to edit your own work, is you need to self-edit and kind of learn how to cut content without taking away the meaning. You want it to be as concise and kind of straightforward as possible. You and I both tend to write a lot of run-on sentences. I look at, I'm not going to fault. I mean, I jokingly kind of razz you about it, but I do the same thing. If you look at my On Cur book, especially the first printing of it, there's huge, walls of text that go down an entire page with no breaks, and I'm just like, what the hell was I doing? I've since gone in and broken that up quite a bit in subsequent publishing or versions of it. But that's something that you got to learn, and you got to, it's your baby, and you don't want to take a knife to it, but sometimes you have to know when enough is enough, and you don't really need 6 paragraphs to describe something. It worked for Tolkien, but not everybody, right? So I think you know, as far as design styles, that's still something I kind of struggle with, and obviously every product is going to be a little different. You know, what do you want the page background to look like? Are there going to be other page elements? Do you want, you know, corners, like some decorative design in the corner? What do you want your page numbers to look like? Do you need, you know, what kind of headings and subheadings and things like that? You need to really plan all that out before you get started, especially in something like Adobe InDesign, because doing that after the fact is a real pain. But they've got some nice ways of setting that up ahead of time so that I can kind of build the page and put everything, all the preferences in there, so that when I drop the text in, it automatically changes it and formats it the way I want. So learning how to do that kind of a thing in Adobe InDesign or whatever other program you're using is really beneficial. That saves a lot of time. You know, that's, you got to have good communication too with whoever, if you're working with somebody else. You don't want to lay out the entire book and then present it to them as a finished product before they've had a chance to tear it apart a few times, you know.
It's got to be checked and double checked. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, trust me, it's gonna hurt you a lot more having finished it and then having to redo it than, you know, having to just redo a page or something, you know. So you want to really get all that kind of worked out. Again, you know,
in my experience with you, I at this point, I pretty much trust you on everything to do with like layout and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that
well, and I appreciate you. Yeah. You've given me a lot of freedom with art direction and that sort of thing, particularly in the past. I think with Sons of Heaven, one we're working on now, I'm actually the one that's kind of reaching out to you more so than usual.
I'm trying to give you some ideas, but
but it's because, and this is something that other people who are publisher, if you're publishing somebody else's work, you'll understand this. When it's your idea, like if I'm publishing an Encore book, I know what my vision is, and I know in the back of my mind what I want it to look like, even if I haven't verbally said it or written it down somewhere. There's an inkling, you know, back there somewhere of what I want. But when you're dealing with somebody else, it's really hard sometimes to pick that up unless you have a lot of conversation. You know, it can be difficult sometimes. You know, some of the images that I sent you early on for Sons of Heaven, you know, I'm really thinking, oh, well, I want this to look very 70s inspired, Battlestar Galactica, that kind of thing. And then you were like, oh, by the way, absolutely do not make it look like Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, well, I you know,
you know,
the thing about Sons of Heaven is I don't want it to look too similar to like the major science fiction, like,
and rightfully so. I mean, right? Yeah, you don't want to look like, oh, well, that's just a ripoff of Star Wars, or that's, you know, clearly that's Star Trek or whatever.
I mean, there's a place you can make a game that's meant to be an obvious ripoff of Star Wars, right? But that's definitely not what Sons of Heaven comes out to be, you know.
Yeah, so just trying to get the creative vision kind of locked down, getting a really good idea of what you want the book to look like before you actually start the layout process. Because like I said, you don't want to go in with kind of a blank slate and just have a bunch of text in there and then have to create all that stuff on the back end. I think it's just easier to nail down what you really want it to look like first, and get all those little eccentricities kind of worked out before you drop in the text. I mean, the text is almost the last thing you want to do.
What you know, like again, for people who are prospectively thinking of publishing their own game or whatever,
Mhm.
or somebody else's, what is the single biggest pain in the ass in the publishing process?
Well, I don't know that it's a pain in the ass per se, but I really don't like, and this is not the fault of drive-through in particular. All print-on-demand, platforms do this for some reason. Even if you're not publishing a book, and let's say you're selling items or whatever through print-on, where they've got those other sites where people sell socks or shoes or anything else,
Yeah.
is the huge cut that they take. When we price a book, and after all the hard work and everything like that, just the fact that, drive-through literally takes like 70% of the of the profit from a sale, and that's not including like shipping. So it can be a bit daunting. I was talking to Rob Kuntz about this, obviously with his book, and it's been a long time since he published anything, right? And he's working off the mindset, an older mindset, probably from the 80s or something. And in that respect, he was assuming that we would make a larger cut, but the price of paper and ink and the shipping and warehousing and all this stuff, it gets to the point where literally off of a book, we're making $1 a piece or something. So we're trying to work together right now on ways to lessen that cost in some kind of way. It used to be that you could say, well, the interior of the book will just be in black and white. But now, drive-through, because they use Ingram to print all their stuff. Ingram's the largest printer in the country, so they're they're great, but they get all of their ink apparently from China. And so I was confident that because drive-through is located in America, and so is Ingram, I figured, well, all our products are made in America. We're not going to have to contest with any kind of tariff problems or anything like that. Well, we're not paying tariffs on the actual shipping of the books, but we're paying tariffs in the sense that all the ink that is coming in from China is being charged a huge tariff. And so
well, I guess that's changed now after the
yeah, you would think, but the prices after going up,
of course they're not going to go back down.
They're not going to lower the price, right? So we've been notified several times last year that the price of ink was going to go up, and so therefore black and white is actually now more expensive to print through drive-through than color.
That's crazy.
Which it seems crazy, but apparently the inks that are required for the color, they have other sources here in the States, but the black ink in particular only comes from China. Anyway, I don't know that I fully believe all that, but that's what I've been told.
Yeah.
And so they did like 3 price hikes last year.
Yeah.
And I've had to increase the price of the books a little bit here and there. Or in some cases, just not do that, and each of us will take a smaller cut. Mm-hmm. But it's that's daunting. Knowing that you could do a lot of work on a book. It might even have a high, $45, $60 price tag, something like that, and you're only making between $1 and $5 a book.
Yeah.
And it's even worse if I print a bunch of copies and have them shipped to me so I can take to a convention, because now I'm paying the shipping cost, and books are heavy. So, if I buy a box full of books, it's like 8 to 10 books, and they're let's say my Encore book, my player's handbook or something, which is, super thick. It's literally like $300 or $400 to get a box of books that, so then when I go to conventions, I've got to sell them higher than retail price to even break even.
Yeah.
So I wish there were other ways of doing. I mean, apparently there are. You can get your stuff printed in China, but as I've talked about before on other interviews and things, that's fraught with all kinds of problems too, because now you're looking at, well, yes, a book is only going to cost you $2 to print, but they're going to request 10 to 20,000 copies, as a minimum. And then even when you don't get that, well, now you've got to buy shipping space on a container ship. It's going to take 6 months to get here from China. Yeah. And then it's illegal for them to, that comes to a port. So you can't go get it. You have to have a shipping company pick it up, and they can't deliver it to your residential address. You then have to have that go to a warehouse. You have to pay for that warehouse space, and you have to buy insurance for theft and flood and fire and all that. Mm-hmm. And so you're just burning money, and I don't know. I mean, this is why so many multi-million-dollar Kickstarters still go broke. Yes, that's right. Yeah. It's because I was just
about to say that. Yeah.
The prices of all this stuff, it's really hard to figure it all out ahead of time, because there's really not a way to do that. You have to you'd have to know exactly how many you're going to sell beforehand, and exactly what the cost is going to be along that chain, and hope that nothing changes. But anyway,
that is tricky.
I think that's the only thing that pisses me off the most about the publishing business. It's that, and there is obviously a learn.
Don't realize that. They think, oh well, this look at how expensive this book
is. Well, they're like, oh well, you're a top seller. You should be a multimillionaire. No, it's now look, I will. I'm not one of those people that likes to keep a whole lot of secrets or anything, and so I'll tell you, last year, or I should say rather the year before, because this is going off of my taxes, right? So, Mad Scribe Games made $42,000 in revenue, but in America, it is extremely hard to live on $42,000.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, if this was a side job, okay, but this is my whole job. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Or at least it is now. And so now that being said, that is way more than a lot of other people in the business.
Oh, of course. I mean, that marks you as a success.
I've talked to multiple people, other designers, that have told me that on average they make somewhere between 12 and 15, maybe as much as 20,000. So that being said, I'm making 2 to 3 times what a lot of other successful people who have way more followers than me, how much they make. So that sounds great. My wife is not so impressed.
I suppose.
So she's a nurse, and she makes like 3 times what I make. So
yeah,
so I can't say I'm exact. It's such a weird business, because when I see people post on social media that they're reading my books, or they've got my coffee mug or something. It makes me really happy. In fact, I saw one time I was at a mall, and me and my wife were walking around, and I saw a complete stranger wearing a Mad Scribe t-shirt. And I was just over the moon, I thought, man, I'm on top of the world here. And then I struggle to pay rent, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming you don't live in New York or something like that.
No, but I live in an apartment in the suburbs or outside of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And it's not bad. We have it's a nice apartment, but my wife and I don't have kids, and so we never really had the reason to jump out and get an expensive house at the time. And now we're getting older, and we kind of do want a house, but we're trying to save up for that. And again, it's we have a lot of money arguments about when's going to be my last book and this kind of thing. So hopefully I'll keep doing this for a while. I certainly have a lot of stuff on my plate right now. I've got I think because of the magazine, actually, I think it's got my company has become more popular because of that. But I've got your book, Rob Kuntz's book, or he's actually got 20 books that he wants me to publish over the course of so many years.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah, I know. Well, he's got all these manuscripts lined up. He sent me 3 of them. But like I said, we're trying to do one at a time. And so I've got your stuff, Rob's stuff, an old friend of mine from the LARPing days back in the 90s. His name's Mike Yao, and he's got a game called Savage Kingdoms. It's like a Hyborian world, very Conan inspired. He wants to create a new book for his game, and so I'm going to do that eventually. Got a card game I'm working on with somebody. There's been somebody approaching me about a board game. I've never done a board game before, but I'm kind of interested, so that may work out. And then I've got my own idea for a Western themed RPG that I'm working on right now too. So certainly I've got enough stuff that could potentially make me some more rent money here, but that kind of thing it's very slow going, because it's you write something. It could take you months to write something.
Yeah.
Take months to get it published, and then it could take more months to wait for it to get popular enough to make any kind of money. So
yeah. So changing the topic a bit, do you currently play RPGs?
No. And I've heard recently, actually, somebody kind of criticize designers for not playing games. But I mean, look, I've been playing role-playing games since 1982.
Yeah.
I stopped playing regularly during COVID, and that was because my gaming group, who we decided to still meet during COVID. Ironically, one of the players ended up contracting COVID and showed up and made everybody sick, including myself.
Wow.
His name was Charlie Trailer, and he had been a good friend of mine and a mentor. He actually was one of the guys who taught me how to play D&D back in 1982. He was a local police officer, and unfortunately, he passed away, not from COVID, but he had diabetes and some other problems that he wasn't aware of, and that got out of control, and he died last year as a result of that. And so, because we lost Charlie, and because of the sickness during COVID, the group kind of split up, and I've been trying to get people back together, but work schedules and people have moved and people have kids, and so really for the last I'd say like 4 years or something, games have been very sporadic. So I do occasional war gaming. Actually did a war game last week. So, but haven't played much D&D or Anchor or anything like that recently, unfortunately.
No, that's a shame.
Yeah.
But I can understand that it's probably a busy schedule to be doing the
and I don't like I'm not very, I don't know if I'd say I'm not very computer savvy. I mean, look, I taught myself how to use Adobe InDesign, but I don't have a YouTube channel, and I don't typically do videos. I don't like doing video calls or anything to my friends. I'll call you on the phone or I'll text you, and that's typically what happens. But so I've never really been one to want to play like a live stream game or something like that. Because people have suggested that too. They're like, oh, well, why don't you get together with so-and-so? And, he's in Wisconsin and I'm in New York and he's in California, and we'll all just play. I'm like, I really don't want to do that. I tried it one time and there was lag, and I couldn't, I'm looking, I couldn't see the map on the screen, and I couldn't tell what he was pointing at. And I said, the heck with this, so.
I think it works better if you're doing theater of the mind because
yeah,
I never liked playing online either for a very long time until when COVID happened here. There was only one of my 3 groups decided they didn't want to play in person, right? Because I mean, in Uruguay there wasn't any lockdowns or things like that.
Yeah.
Right? So we could have kept going, but this one group didn't, and so then I took advantage of that to start an online campaign of the Invisible College. And then after that, when we finished that, that was when I was kind of play testing the Invisible College. And then after that, I started a Sword and Caravan campaign, which is still going on to this day, that we play online. We just use Google Meet, and of course, I've always run everything as theater of the mind. I don't use like miniatures and battle maps or things like that.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's pretty reliable. Like we have one guy that's in Okinawa. So like he's got like a 12-hour difference from everybody else at least. So,
wow, that's dedication. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for him it's morning when he's playing, and the rest of us are playing at night.
Well, my play style, going way back, was always we certainly used mega mats. We take the dry erase pens or whatever and draw on them, and we'd certainly use miniatures. And then by the 90s, I had gotten pretty heavily into using scenery and terrain, and I used to scratch build terrain all the time, and still I've done so as recently as probably 2 years ago, and I'm actually really good at it. I could probably have my own YouTube channel about that, but it's nothing that Black Magic Craft or something like that doesn't already have on there. So but so I've always liked the visual aspect of having little scenery pieces, set pieces or whatever on the table, and I play music and stuff like that too in the background, and I just find that stuff's kind of hard to do. I guess unless you're doing like a VTT or something, or I haven't even touched any of that, virtual stuff. But I mean, to me, that's like a video game. I'll just, we got plenty of games on Steam I could play if I'm interested in that.
We've got a second super chat of the night here for $2 from Monkey 70077. Long live Domino. Thank you for that. I hope Domino is long lived. She's now at, she's a bit over a year old, which makes her about the age of a teenager in human years. And And she's in her rebellious streak. She started going outside of the courtyard where she's safe and going out onto the street. And I'm not too pleased with that, but I'm trying to scold her out of it. But it's pretty tricky. And today she was doing some crazy hijinks trying to climb up the building. So she's quite the handful. Oh, we got another super chat here. $9.99 from Squadra Course. Thanks for the live stream. Interesting discussion. D&D Dad and Son didn't do a super chat, but he said condolences for Charlie.
Thanks. I like their channel too, by the way. But thank you very much. He was, like I said, he was in his late 70s. But no matter how old somebody is, I mean, it's always, like I said, he was a mentor of mine. And matter of fact, I'll tell you a Charlie story that is completely true. So back in the day, I learned about Dungeons and Dragons from a next door neighbor. They were Seventh-day Adventists, and so they played a lot of games for some reason. And all I knew at the time is they don't celebrate Christmas or Easter or their birthday, and I thought it was weird. But this kid, his name was Garrett, and he showed me some miniatures and some dice, and I'd never seen this stuff before, right? And I'm like, what the heck is this? And he finally told me where he had bought it, and it was a comic book shop in College Park near the airport here. And so it took weeks for me to convince my mother to actually take me there. And of course, this is like the early 80s, right? So what does she do? She drops me off in the middle of town, doesn't pick me up for like 12 hours, at like $2 in my pocket. And the place was Titans Games and Comics. And Titans Games and Comics was the only place, I mean, at the time that I think in Georgia that sold anything D&D related. But Charlie was an Atlanta police officer at the time, and I walked in and I'm just like awestruck for all the comic books, all the heavy metal posters and miniatures, and they had all these cool looking books. And Charlie kind of took me under his wing and all that. But one day, we're sitting in there, and Charlie and I are looking at Conan comics, actually. And this guy comes in, and he looks real sketch. He's got, like a duster on, a trench coat. Mm-hmm. And he looks, like you've all seen like a tweaker. This guy, he's sweating profusely, and he's just kind of shaking a little bit. He looks nervous, and he comes up and pulls out a gun and tries to rob, the comic book store.
Jeez.
Well, Charlie put me in the mind of Tackleberry, from Police Academy. He always carried this like giant, long-barreled Smith & Wesson revolver. It's like nickel-plated. And from behind, where he pushes me down and tells me to hide behind the comic books because they're bulletproof. And he pulls out his gun and tells the guy to freeze, right? And of course, the dude bolts. He runs out of the building, opens the glass door, runs, so Charlie goes out and he chases him. And I could see Charlie stops, part way down the sidewalk and points his gun and fires 2 shots. And then they told me that I wasn't allowed to leave the building. And then, for the next hour or two, there's cops and ambulances and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm pretty sure he killed the dude.
Wow.
So don't fuck with our game store. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But he was a real character. We had a lot of interesting people at that store back in the day. I'll never, want to take back any of those moments. I tell you, we had now Titans Games and Comics is kind of famous because the store owner ended up creating Dragon Con, and he later became a millionaire because of that, and he sold the comic shop, and it's since went out of business. Now they do actually have another location that is still open, that was purchased by another one of our fellow gamers, and it's up in I want to say Alpharetta or something. I can't remember now. I don't live there, so. But interesting. And I ended up working for Dragon Con for something like 10 years. You know, that's where I was a liaison for the Walk of Fame there, and got to hang out with movie stars and, you know, all the cool kids.
Wow.
Got a lot of weird stories I could tell you about movie stars. Might have to mention some of that stuff without saying their names, you know, for legal reasons. But anyway.
So there's somebody on the chat would like to know more about what your Wild Western RPG is going to be about.
Well, so for those of you who don't know, I've been a Civil War reenactor and Wild West show actor for something like 35 years. In fact, it was this past Monday was the 35th anniversary of me doing that. And so I've got a long history of kind of living most of my life, at least on the weekends, in the 1800s. I camp out. I eat like 19th century food, dress in the clothing, shoot the guns, ride horses, all that stuff. And so way back in the day, again, this is probably back in the 80s, I ran an impromptu game that, you know, we were in kind of in between D&D sessions and we wanted something different, right? So I created on the fly a Western themed game. Young Guns was popular, and so I was kind of basing it on that. Now that game completely sucked. It was a lot of fun, but I didn't know the first thing about how to create rule systems or anything like that, so it was all over the place, and heavily influenced by Palladium at the time. So here recently, for some reason, I'd gotten back into reenacting a lot more, and just went to something recently, and I don't know, I got a wild hair up my butt, and I said, I'm gonna make a Western game. I'm gonna do it. And so I've been working kind of nonstop on that. What I thought what I was going to do is I said, well, I've already got a really great working system with the Encore system, the Encore rule system. Mm-hmm. But that's getting a little old, and the more I started looking at it, it doesn't really. Some of the aspects of the mechanics don't really fit like a 19th century Western theme. We use a lot of guns and things like that, and so although I do have guns in Encore, I wasn't real happy with some of the rules in there. So anyway, I'm revamping it. I'm creating kind of a streamlined version of that. So it's going to use a D12. Mm-hmm. And
so not an OSR game.
No, it's not an OSR game. Mm-hmm. It's my own concoction. And you just need one D12 for the entire system. Without giving out too much, I mean, the basic mechanic is going to be something like so you've got stats, right, that range from 1 to, I think with Encore it went from 1 to 5. I think I may go to 1 to 6 on a stat range, and then you've got skills that are with associated stats, right? But the skills have their own ranks or skill level, and that's also going to range probably from 1 to 6. What you're going to do for conflict resolution is take your skill and your associated stat, add that together, and that is your action potential number, or APN. The idea is to roll your APN or less on a D12 to succeed. If you roll the exact APN, that's a crit. If you roll over the APN, that's a failure. If you roll a 12, it's a critical failure. If you roll a 1, because you want to roll under, a 1 is always a success, but never a critical success. So in the case that your APN would be a 1, even if that's the case and you roll a 1, that can never be a crit. From that, what I'm changing the most is going to be the kind of the damage system. So in Oncur, what would normally happen is you've got various different weapons that do different damage. And even in Oncur, I didn't have you roll the damage. The damage was predetermined based on the type of material it was made from and that sort of thing. But with this game, I think it's going to be better if I essentially have you roll the hit, you roll location, right? Now you can call your shot, and if there's going to be penalties to that, and if that's successful, you don't have to roll a random location. You can say, "Oh, I want to try to hit him in the head." But otherwise, you're gonna roll a D12 to determine hit location, and then you're going to roll again to determine the injury severity. And so there's going to be, for each location, there's a separate little table that'll, so you roll a 1, let's say, and that's going to be a flesh wound or a scratch, something like that, a bruise. But if you roll a 12 and you're hitting somebody in the head with a gun, in particular, their head's going to explode like a watermelon, right? So, and obviously there's all kinds of different injuries in between. And so you've got also what I did with Oncur, and I think I'm going to do something similar with this, is I was kind of inspired by Palladium's SDC versus MDC. And so you've got stamina points versus hit points. In this game, I don't think I'm going to have hit points per se, because the damage severity, those descriptions all have effects. And so rather than say you took 20 hit points, I'll just say, well, your leg's broken, and here's what happens because of that. Now your movement is halved, and it's going to take so long to heal that, and yada yada yada. So what I did with Oncur in particular was I had stamina points, which came in the form of physical stamina and mental stamina. And so I didn't want punching someone to cause the same type of damage that you would get from stabbing someone or shooting someone, right? So basically, hand-to-hand damage, blunt weapon damage, falling damage, all that comes out of stamina first. If all of your stamina is depleted, then you go into having other injury effects, which could happen real quick if you fall, right? If you fall off a 50-story building or something, when you hit the ground, it's going to take all your stamina, and you're going to break all your bones and probably die. But it's going to take a long time to wear somebody down with punching, usually. One other thing I thought would be kind of interesting is if with the Western game, there's no magic, right? I don't want this to be a steampunk kind of a setting. I don't want this to be...
Hello, sorry. I don't know what just happened there, but for some reason...
Have I still been on the whole time?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Been on the whole time.
Yeah, I noticed you disappear. I didn't know if you were just trying to highlight me or something.
There's something weird going on with my computer here. It's
all right.
Putting up random stuff.
Well, I was just kind of talking about some of the ideas I had for stamina loss and that sort of thing. But basically, I don't want fisticuffs to do the same kind of, damage as a knife or a gun wound. And so I think we're still going to use something similar to the on-curse system, where you've got a stamina, like a physical stamina pool, and blunt damage, hand-to-hand damage, falling damage, and that sort of thing will come out of that. Whereas blades and, slashing, piercing, hacking, bullet damage, all that's going to come out of essentially your hit points, right? But I was explaining that in this new Western game, I don't think I'm going to have hit points per se. I'm just going to rely instead on a more abstract description based on the wound severity chart. It'll describe, you've got bruising, or now an artery's been cut, or a broken bone, or something like that, and it gives you penalties that are semi-permanent until you get healed. But as far as getting punched or something, you would have to wear down somebody's stamina pool before you get to these more severe injury tables or whatever.
And is the game going to be historical?
Yes, and so that was another thing I was mentioning, is there's no magic, so there's no magical healing. There's no clerics in that sense, although, you can, I think I will still have a playable preacher class. I'm working on that. But I don't want it to be diesel punk or steampunk, or, this stuff where you've got, it's, the Old West, but with Cthulhu or ghosts or something. So I want it to be more grounded in real historical stuff, because I think that's interesting enough. You don't need all the other bells and whistles.
I think that's a very good idea.
And to be honest, there's plenty of games like that. So there's a dozen Western games that have aliens and monsters and demons and dragons, and you can play elves and dwarves with cowboy hats and all that shit. Mm-hmm. So I just want something that's going to be, kind of more grounded in real history and based off a lot of my real practical experience that I have from riding horses and shooting guns and camping outside and, all that stuff. So it's a work in progress right now, though.
Very good.
I've probably gotten, I don't know, about 10 pages written. So I don't know how big I want the book to be yet.
It's always trickier when you're making your own system.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, there's still some things that are kind of up in the air. You can play a prospector, but I'm not exactly sure how I want that to work. I've got prospecting rules in the Encore game, but to be honest, I was never happy with those. So I imagine I'm going to take that, the bare bones of it, and then rework it some way to work better for this game. So we'll see.
So regarding Rob Kuntz's book, the one that he's currently, because apparently he's got 20-something manuscripts to give you, but the current
it's going to be
anything you can tell us about it. Is it an RPG product, or is it like a memoir, or what is it?
It is going to be the it's essentially the history of Robilar. And so, Rob Kuntz is one of his first characters. It may have been his first character that was featured very heavily in early TSR products. He's kept all of his gaming notes and so he has all that stuff from ages past, and he wants to essentially make a book describing all of his adventures and misadventures and all of his character notes and things that were going on behind the scenes at the table between him and other characters and other players, that sort of thing.
It's going to be a historical record.
Yeah, yeah, and it looks actually pretty interesting. I got to tell you, I didn't really know anything about Robilar until I read the manuscript, right? So I was pleasantly surprised that there's a lot of good, interesting information in there. But yeah, he goes into detail about stuff that he and Gary talked about, and talks about other, fairly famous wizard characters and things like that, and because all these characters, Bigby and Tensor and all these people were characters played in those early days while they were playtesting D&D, and so he goes into some detail about some of those characters and their backstories and histories and what they did and what the players were thinking when they were making certain decisions, and how some of that got used later in TSR products, as far as setting and things like that. So I think it's interesting. Now he does have his memoirs that he wants to publish as well, but I'm not doing that. He's specifically got another person that's going to be working on that. And unfortunately, the process of kind of working on Rob's stuff right now is going very slow because, he's in Corsica, and frequently, I know he's told me multiple times that frequently, like, the internet will go out and they may not have internet for a week, stuff like that. And I know they just had some really bad wildfires over there recently. So, yeah, but in any case, I haven't heard much from him in probably 2 weeks. And I'm getting a little concerned because I've emailed, we emailed each other fairly regularly early on. And, we're still trying to work out. I sent him a contract. We're still trying to work the details out on that. And then I had some questions about some of the content and what kind of direction he wanted to go, and haven't heard back yet. So that being said, like we mentioned before, we've got your book that I've kind of been working on here in the meantime, and also the Western game. You kind of have to strike while the iron is hot, so like I said, I got in the mood to do something Western related, so I said, well, let me sit down for a few days and write as much as I can on this. But here shortly I'm going to be going back in on your stuff. I feel pretty confident we can, once we get the art direction kind of nailed down, we can move pretty quickly.
We're making a lot of progress on that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we actually have. Again, it's a very
vision for it. Yeah.
It's going to be a very picture heavy book, and again, it's the style of artwork is not something that I can easily pass off to an artist.
Yeah,
it does lend a little bit better to to AI stuff. So
I don't have a problem with that because
we've decided. You told me, I asked you about it, and you told me that was more than fine with you. So so we're proceeding with that. But again, the thing with AI is it is sometimes very good at creating a single image, right? What it's not necessarily good at is creating multiple images with the same cohesive look. And so let's say we have a character concept or whatever, right? It's a lizard person, and you want them to look a certain way and have a certain type of armor and a certain style of weapon. I could ask, Midjourney or something to create 5 images of different, of lizard people with laser guns and armor, and it's going to make them look completely different. Even if I tell it no, it has to look like this one, a lot of times it's difficult to make that work out. And so I'm struggling a little bit with that.
Yeah.
And there's a few little things in there, spacer art and things like page elements and things like that that are created by real artists that I've decided to use that. But Dean Spencer, for example, I'm always singing his praises. He's a great artist who doesn't charge an arm and a leg. He likes to put a lot of stuff on drive-through where you can buy like a kind of a package, right? So he'll have like a sci-fi, package of a bunch of little pieces of art. And generally you can get something like that for $10, or he'll charge $1 or $3 for a single piece. And it's usually smaller stuff, but you can get themed kind of artwork like that from him real easy. And I love his stuff. And I've used Dean Spencer for just about everything that I've made. I know with all the Encore books, he did quite a bit in there. And then, I think between that and Midjourney, though, we're going to come out with a pretty, pardon the pun, stellar looking book, right? And then it's just a matter after that of, like I said, getting the pages created and kind of dropping everything in. So, like I said, once we get the art nailed down, I think it's going to go very quickly after that. And, we could be looking at having something out possibly as soon as a month.
Oh, that would be hopeful. Yeah, I'm not gonna bet money on it, but that would be great.
We'll see.
I'm wondering,
of course, the moment that I mentioned, I mentioned that, right, then Rob's going to chime in and be like, "Oh, I've got everything ready now."
Yeah.
So
I'm wondering if anyone in the chat has any questions about Sons of Heaven, either the publishing or the content or what have you. If you don't know, Sons of Heaven is a sci-fi setting that I was working on, and in some of the Pundit Files that were up until recently on the Red Room, and that now are coming back, by the way, so you can get the Pundit Files now are on drive-through. Number 2 of the Pundit Files has just come out, and I would link it, but I'm afraid of moving my changing tabs here and having everything shut down or something. I don't know what's going on with the computer. But you can get it from Lix Universe. The link is in the description of this live stream, right? And so you'll find it there. But I did a whole series of like space opera supplements in the Pundit Files that have some of the content that's going to be on Sons of Heaven. But of course, Sons of Heaven is going to have 100 more pages than anything I wrote in the Pundit Files. And the system is very much based on kind of Star Adventurer, which was my first space opera RPG, which is a thin little book of 30 pages that I did for Spectre Press.
Yeah, Sons of Heaven is a thick one.
Yeah,
with 2 C's.
Yeah.
Thick with 2 C's.
Yeah, and it's essentially the setting is. I've described it as the Bronze Age collapse in space, which is an apt description. But I'm using a lot of influence from ancient history, basically, and applying it in a space opera sci-fi concept. So it's gonna be an unusual setting, but I think it's a very interesting one, and you can play it pretty straight if what you're looking for is a science fiction game set after the collapse of a vast interstellar human government that has fallen now, and the characters in the game can be, in theory, they can be treasure hunters looking at worlds that collapsed and trying to get older technology that isn't producible anymore, or you could be people who are trying to revive the old Confederation or to create a new, human government in space. Or you can have, space pirates or exploration. So there's a lot of different options for how you can run the game. There's a comment here that I can't quite read. Are you going to go for that Star Sectors aesthetics, and will there be an online playtest campaign? Okay. There could be a campaign of it that I might run with some people. I'm not sure what you mean by Star Sector aesthetics, but
I don't know what that I mean, is that a video game or some kind of
the aesthetics of the game is going to be hopefully somewhat unique. Like, I mean, it's going to have some elements of, not of Star Trek or of Star Wars that much. So there might be a few things that might remind you of Star Wars, because of the, kind of the dingy sort of thing that you see in
well, and that's the real trick too, is like trying to make it something that doesn't look like anything else. Is a bit of a task, in particular when you're, I guess when, trying to use AI, because AI pulls from, other source material, right? So kind of limiting.
I know you're very good at curating AI. The reason why
thank you.
I wouldn't get some rando publisher to do AI stuff.
Yeah. I don't know how I became like the best person for doing AI art.
You're the AI whisperer or something,
I'm very nitpicky, and I'm very, I'm probably on the spectrum somewhere, with autism or something. But I'm just I'm very detail oriented, and sometimes I go down these tangents, and I'll work on something for hours, and I'm just not happy with any of it, so I throw it away. But that's where, going back to the self-editing, right? I'm my own worst enemy there. But hopefully we'll come up with something that everybody likes.
All right. So I think we're getting close to the end here. We've been doing this for 2.5 hours now, albeit with some technical issues. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we close?
No, I don't think so. So the 13th issue of Mad Scribe magazine, if I can get it to show up here. Very, very cool cover. It's out now. It's been out for a couple of weeks, and I always say this. I'm every issue is something I'm proud of. I feel that I'm as a publisher, I'm getting better at what I do, and I just think that like each issue is better than the one before it. But so that's a good thing. But I've been very lucky to get, like I said, some great, talented, very beautiful people involved in the cosplay section.
Wow.
It was wonderful being able to talk to Ed Greenwood, and super nice guy, by the way. Very, very cordial, and very, like I said, just very nice rapport and everything with him. I loved all his answers for the interviews. Sometimes you can interview people, and you're trying to fish for something other than just a yes or no answer. And he didn't hold back at all. He wrote huge paragraphs, explaining his answers and everything. So that was great.
That was great.
And I think that there's a lot of good content in this one. And you just can't beat it. Like I said, there's nobody else doing this. There's a couple of other gaming magazines that have popped up over the last couple of years, but most of those are all digital, or it's just they call it a magazine, but it's really a blog site, or something like that. And so if you want like an old school nostalgic, gaming magazine that you can actually, flip through. And I've got painting tutorials in here, comics, cosplay pinups. There's articles, all kinds of old school looking advertisements and everything, for miniatures and games and that sort of thing. We do game reviews.
And where should people buy it? Is that on drive-through?
Anywhere you want. So because I publish through Ingram, I'm able to get all my books on drive-through, but also Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, anywhere books are sold.
Wide open.
Yeah. Now, typically, because they're print on demand, you're not always going to find it on the shelf at Walmart or Target or something like that. But if you go to their website, it is on their website. You can have it ordered. And, drive-through is great. And I do get a bigger cut at drive-through. But I know not everybody wants to shop there, and they can be quite slow. Drive-through typically takes about 2 weeks to get you something. You can order it on Amazon. You'll pay a couple of dollars more because Amazon takes a larger cut than drive-through does, so I have to hike the price up, right? But I ordered a couple of copies from Amazon and got them like literally the next day. So, there's that. But pick it up. It's a great magazine. I'm actually working on the next issue, and that comes out April 1st, and that's not a joke. So, but it's a quarterly, magazine. So we do one in January, April. I've got the one coming out in July, and then October.
Excellent. All right. So I don't see any more questions or comments from the chat here, but well, there's always, just like I do the same question. The first question is the same for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I do a last question, which is also the same for everybody. And this question comes out of the fact that, I'm obviously very obsessed with role-playing games, but as it stands, that's pretty much the only truly nerdy hobby that I have, right? Like I don't play collectible card games, or I don't, I've tried occasionally some kind of, like these more sophisticated board games, but I find them mostly annoying. And I don't play Warhammer. I don't collect Funko Pops. I don't do any of the stuff. I don't read or watch anime. None of that stuff. I don't play video games, So basically RPGs are the only really not typically nerdy thing I do. Right? I mean, I do other things that some people might call nerdy, like I study history, but that's not really a nerd thing, right?
I mean, that would get you beat up in the 80s just as well as anything else.
Yeah. I've watched, I've watched Avengers movies or things like that, but that's not really nerdy anymore, anyways, because everybody's watched those, right? So the question, which is, to see of my guests where they lie on the spectrum, is how nerdy are you? Aside from RPGs, what other nerd things do you do?
100%.
Fully nerdy.
So yeah, I mean, I do a little bit of everything, or at least I did. I don't. I started, back in the old days with Dungeons and Dragons, and that led into, all kinds of other games. Traveler and Car Wars, and Recon, and Robotech stuff, Ninja Turtles, Rifts. Beyond Supernatural. I played, all kinds of, in just about any genre of game you could imagine. Now, I got into playing Magic when it first came out, like ages ago, right? So, like first edition Magic. And I liked it quite a bit. I didn't buy a ton of cards for it, but later on, they had a lot of knockoffs, right? So then you had Dune, or Star Wars and things like that. So I bought all the Star Wars cards, and I was a master at playing Dune. And I don't think I'd lost a single card match in Dune. In fact, everybody at the gaming store refused to play me, and I had to quit because nobody would play me because I won all the time. I used to love to play the Guild Navigators, and that was my, I had a kind of it wasn't cheating, but I had, it's a deck building game, and you build it a certain way, and you can't lose. Anyway, I did that for years. And then I dated a girl that I thought I was going to marry, and then she had me sell all of my cards. And then we broke up 6 months later. So, it's one of those things. I don't play Magic anymore. When I met my current wife, she didn't play games at all, really, but she was into some board games. So as you can see behind me, we have a Calyx system with easily, I'd guess 100 board games. We're lucky enough, we have a friend who is independently wealthy. He's a multimillionaire, and he lives in Atlanta, and all he does is play board games. And he's actually the person who does all the board game reviews in my Mad Scribe magazine. So his name's Percy. But, he goes by several names, Kyle, in the magazine. But in any case, he has thousands of games, and we go over there on a pretty regular basis and play board games with him. But he hates tabletop role-playing, so I don't have anybody to currently game with, like that. I do Civil War reenacting, and I used to be an actor and did that for a number of years and never got rich doing that. So let's see, as far as other hobbies and things, I paint a lot of miniatures. We do have a large Funko Pop collection. You can't see those from here, but hold on, maybe I can. So just to prove that, yes, I do have a bunch of these, obviously themed to Dungeons and Dragons or Star Wars or something like that. Whenever you collect stuff like this, you tend to get them for Christmas presents, whether you want it or not. I don't know. Let's. What were some of the other suggestions? Because I think
it sounds like you've got a bit of everything going on.
I do play video games too. Although I'm one of those guys, so I have a Steam account, right? I pick a game and I play it for like 10 years. I don't care for like the new games necessarily. A lot of the things that I play, I've had for as long as Steam has been out, I played World of Warcraft way back, in the day when it first came out. I played that religiously and got several characters up to 100th level and had millions of gold pieces. And I was in the very famous Pals for Life guild. So for those of you who know, that's where the whole Leroy Jenkins thing came from. So
my goodness,
I was in that group.
Even I heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I have it's like a near miss story, right? So I was there when they were doing the Leroy Jenkins bit. I had a dwarven cleric. His name was Gilthingrin Hammerhand, and I had been like farming all day. So you go out, you kill a bunch of goblins and wild boar and different things, and you collect whatever they drop. And you can also go out and collect herbs and things. And my character was also a tailor. And because I was a cleric, I could imbue clerical magic into the item. So I basically harvest, and then you take this raw material and you make it into cloth, and then you take the cloth and you make it into a cloak, and then you cast spells on the cloak. And so you can have like a cloak of protection or whatever, and you sell that in the auction house. And that's how I made millions of gold pieces. And so I had just been doing this for like 12 hours or something, right? And I make it back to, I forget now what was the dwarven city called. I don't remember now, but you go in, to the mountain, and it's got that lava pit that goes around it, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a bridge, and on one side of the bridge was the instance where the Leroy Jenkins battle happens. On the other side of the bridge is where the auction house is. So I bumped into the guys, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're about to go on this raid. Do you want to come along? We could use a cleric." And I said, "Sure." And so they added me to their friend chat, chat thing or whatever, so you can talk to each other while you're on the raid. And if you don't join the raid, like if I had just walked in with them, I wouldn't get any of the collective experience or stuff like that from being in the group. So you have to join the group. Well, they were pissing around and literally sat there for like 20 minutes trying to decide what they were going to do and how they were going to approach this. And, oh, we got to wait for this other person to join and this and that and the other. And so I just told them, I said, "Listen, I've been up a long time. I've been doing this for like 12 hours. I wanted to go to the auction house and sell all my shit, right?" And so I said, I'm just going to catch you on the next one, but I didn't leave the group. Uh-huh. So my character walks on the other side of the bridge, and because we're close enough to to each other, you can still hear everything that they're saying in the chat, right? Yeah. So I'm literally in the auction house, dumping all my stuff and trading things and trying to see how well I did, because I had stuff that was already for sale, like in there. It's kind of like eBay, and so I'm trying to check and see what I've sold for the week or whatever. And I literally hear, the guy yelling, "Leroy Jenkins," and then they go in, and I can hear the pandemonium and the chaos and people getting killed and all this. Now, at that point, even if I'd wanted to, I couldn't join in to help because they've already gone into the instance. And if I'm not mistaken, there was some kind of, you can't just go in there. You have to be a part of the quest. You have to start the quest, and there's like an item or something. So anyway, I'm in there selling my shit, and I can still hear. I still hear.
Got away because
right. But I was that close. I was that close to being a part of history, and so I could hear all this. And at the time, I mean, it was funny, but so what? There's a million things like that happen, so I didn't think much of it. And it was funny that years later, people start quoting Leroy Jenkins, and you're like, where'd you get that from? Where did you hear that? And so it's just funny that it's become like a part of our nomenclature now, right? So like everybody knows it.
Yeah, really.
But we used to have a lot of fun getting together in groups and doing stupid shit. Like, how many people can we stack on top of each other's shoulders, and we'll make a human totem pole or whatever, and I think we got like 20 people or something at one point, and of course then you take screenshots of it. Or we would get together and have dance parties, because all of the avatars, like your character, you could type in certain like an HTML code and create a dance for them. So if you were in the know, you would get these dance codes, and you could make them do things. And so we would have dance parties, or we would get together and do stupid shit, like have one guy bending over and another guy behind him, dancing around doing this, so it looks like they're having sex or something. Seems very childish, actually, but
yeah, really.
But that was kind of like the fun thing to do back then. that and selling, like I said, people were making millions of dollars, millions of, coins, fake coins. I actually found out a way to convert that into real money. You could, so there's a friend of mine that used to play Second Life, and I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Vaguely.
But Second Life was an old game, like a sim, but it became popular for some reason with folks because you could, much like Minecraft or something, you could essentially purchase a plot of land in this digital realm, and you could build whatever you wanted. So you could build a castle, or you could build a modern house, on a hill, on a cliff overlooking the ocean with a big pool or something. You could make your character look like anything you wanted. And it became so popular that at some point the digital landscape had been exhausted, and all the property was owned by some character, right? And it got to where people were selling digital real estate for real money.
Yeah.
And then you could, again, use that real estate to farm something. You could create a certain type of plant, or, pretty flower, or a tree, or, you could build a car, and, maybe nobody's ever seen that type of car before or whatever. And you could sell those things as like, kind of like how you would see loot crate stuff in a game now, right? So, or VTT stuff. So people were making real money off of selling stuff in the game, and there was a couple of guys who became millionaires. And a buddy of mine told me about that. He played Second Life, and I was like, man, I wonder if I could really do that with World of Warcraft, And I was on the verge of trying to do something like that, and some people got in trouble, and they kind of put the clamp down on that and made it to where it was less likely for you to do that. And I didn't want to get in trouble, but you could essentially build, like, let's say, the magical cloak I was talking about, and you could advertise offline, like another.
Yeah,
on
you can purchase this here,
wherever, eBay or something, and you could say, oh, I've got a cloak that you can, give me $10, and your character can have it, and then I'll just arrange for you to meet me in the game at a tavern, and then we could trade items, and so you could do stuff like that, but very labor intensive, I don't know. I guess if you really wanted to get into it, you could make a lot of money, but apparently there were some people laundering money, essentially, doing that. So yeah.
So well, it sounds like you are extremely nerdy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the contest here is to find the least nerdy person interviewed. Our reigning champion, and for quite some time now, has been Driving in Dragons.
Oh yeah.
Like me, the only really nerdy thing he does is he plays D&D.
I was never into sports or anything. Growing up, I was very skinny. And I think when I graduated high school, I weighed 100 pounds or something. And I had very skinny, had glasses, and played D&D. So I got beat up a lot, Yeah, very nerdy.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Driving in Dragons, he just plays D&D and fixes cars, which is a kind of anti-nerdy thing to do. So there you go. But Driving, I don't think he's here tonight. He often is, because he wants to see if he's still the reigning champion. But I guess he'll probably watch this later, and he will know he is still the reigning champion of the RPG Pundit Encounter.
Damn you, Double D!
Nerdiness. That's not Double D. It's not Diversity in Dragons. It's Driving in Dragons.
Oh, Driving in Dragons. Oh yeah, that's right. He does fix cars. Yeah, I've seen. I watch his channel.
He talks about D&D while he fixes cars on his YouTube channel. Yeah. So, anyways,
I think he's
a pleasure to have you here. I'm very glad that you were able to come on.
I think he's in Tennessee or something.
Yeah,
it seems like every time I see his channel and he's, it shows him driving around, I'm like, I think I know that place.
Yeah, I think so. So it's been a pleasure. Our next episode, we don't know who it's going to be with yet, will be happening on what would that be? Today was the 22nd, so it'll be the 22nd of March. There we go. So,
and hopefully StreamYard won't be such a bitch.
Yeah, I don't know what's been going on. First it's StreamYard, and now it's like some weird thing that happened with my computer is making screens go out and stuff like that. So I think I'm just going to reboot, and then we'll see what goes on after that. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button, share the video if you think that there's someone in your social media that'll find it interesting or that'll get pissed off by it. And be sure to check out all of my products, some of which are also Mad Scribe's products, are linked in the description of this video. And you already know that you can go find Mad Scribe magazine on drive-through or on just about anywhere else, apparently. So all of the books that I've done for you as well are available pretty much anywhere books can be bought. Yeah. So there you go. Oh, you got a last-minute super chat from No One of Consequence, $5. Thank you for the stream. Thank you, No One of Consequence. I really appreciate that. And all right, well, we will see you guys next time. Oh, one programming note. I don't know how this came to pass, to be honest, but somehow it's turned out that I'm going to be on Wednesday. Let me see if I can get this up so I can. Oh, here we go. So I can actually comment on it. Where is that? So there's a guy called Dundermoose who is kind of Bro SR adjacent, who has decided to invite myself, Driving and Dragons, and Griff Morgan.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Secrets of Blackmore. We're all going to be on the channel debating these ideas that the Bro SR has and explaining. He's claiming that it's going to be in good faith. We're going to see how it goes, but I guess you'll need to check out Dundermoose's channel on Wednesday to see how all of that turns out. We'll see. You know that with me, the Bro SR is a fighting word. So
I don't know. I don't have much to say about them. I mean, I've only had a few interactions, and for some reason they've all been negative, and I don't know why.
They're fundamentally an anti-OSR movement.
I haven't gone out of my way to offend anyone, but like I said, it's typically they'll say something, they'll make a claim or whatever, and I might have a question, or I'll ask them about it, or and then you get the response, well, go fuck yourself, you're an idiot, and I'm just like, well, okay. So I did, like I said, my interactions with them online, unfortunately, have just been very negative. But I don't. It'll be interesting. I'd like to actually hear what they got to say, and I understand. I think the gist of what they're trying to say about one-on-one time and how things were played, by the book, back in the 70s or whatever. Having been there, not since the very beginning, but since '82. I mean, I have my opinions. I could tell you that's not how it was played in any group that I've ever done.
That is one of the main arguments against them.
I mean, Gary Gygax even has made comments in interviews saying that he never played it like that. So, yes, maybe it's written that way, or it could be interpreted one way. Do you have to play it completely rules as written? And is that really what one-on-one time, what they meant for you to do? Only in certain circumstances, I think. In those early Braunstein type games where you've got multiple DMs and multiple players all in the same campaign world and it's supposed to be happening simultaneously, well then yes, I could see where one-on-one time would work, because you know, while I'm sleeping, somebody else is going in there and trying to raid the same tomb, and then I get up the next day and it's empty, and you know, because it was player versus player, and things were supposed to be happening in real time simultaneously. But regular D&D games don't happen like that, and you're typically not going against, you know, when you have a game session on Saturday, and that, you know, you guys are done playing for the day and you all go to bed, some other group in another country is not going in and stealing all of your stuff. You know, no one's playing against you. Yeah. And it doesn't make sense to be in the middle of a dungeon and then stop the game and then come back a week later and say, well, all your characters are dead because you all starved to death. You didn't eat, you couldn't eat anything while you were there because there were no players to have agency, you know. Yeah, it's stupid stuff. It's ridiculous. I've heard them argue that that's not what they mean, but then they don't really tell you what they mean. Yeah. So whatever. Like I said, I'm going to watch it. It'll be interesting.
All right. Well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, and we will see you soon. Currently smoking, well, I actually finished it a few minutes ago, an Italian red bark with Argento Latacchia.
Currently drinking sparkly water.
There we go. Take care, everyone.
Good night.
All right.